They have to have paper. There's paper in Star Wars, right? I feel like I've seen people have paper.
What if they don't even have a printing press?
The cotton gin was never invented.
What if they never even invented the wheel?
They have upholsterless, but not wheels.
That's the significant milestone in Star Wars. The wheel was never invented, so they had to figure something else out.
You don't need to reinvent the hover sled or
Repulsor.
something. They're repulsor.
Hello there, you found the Lost Holocron, an ancient artifact of lore and legends from a galaxy far, far away. Each transmission of the Lost Holocron, you will join an episodic discussion of media from the Star Wars universe. We will be your guides. Trouts.
Oh, me? Okay, yeah.
I am Tox. And then we have Elike.
Unacceptable.
And finally we have Mitt.
Ole.
We will be covering the material up to and including Chapter 7 of Dark Force Rising. So, Elike, what happened so far?
Oh, God, hang on. I'm so sorry. I was messing with my sound settings. Mid-podcast like you do. How do you guys say this?
Chubra?
Churba?
Chubra. You guys say Churba? Churba. What do you guys like more, Chuba or Churba?
Churba.
I like Churba.
Churba.
Team Churba.
Are we talking about Kobe again?
Chuba. I know, I was thinking Kirby too.
In the twilight of the Galactic Civil War, new leadership has renewed the Imperial threat to the New Republic. Between a devastating military blunder at Sluissi Shipyards and a suspicious financial activity, Admiral Ackbar was taken under arrest on suspicion of treason. After giving testimony on their experience at Sluis Van, Han Solo and Luke Skywalker have taken it upon themselves to investigate Ackbar's most vocal detractor, Borsk Fey'lya. During the Galactic Civil War, the Bothans had a noteworthy skirmish into the Churba Sector, making a new cove of the first site of their investigation. Additionally, the Imperial threats have come with multiple abduction attempts on Leia Organa-Solo. After seeking shelter with the Wookiees, she and Chewbacca thwart another abduction, capturing a Noghri operative. During the interrogation, the operative Khabarakh identifies Leia by scent as the Malariash, heir to the revered Lord Vader. In exchange for a solo embassy to the Noghri homeworld, Leia allows Khabarakh to leave to meet in 1 month's time over the Forest Moon of Endor. Stuart, what happened in Chapter 7?
Leia and Chewbacca arrive in the Endor system a day before their appointed meeting with the Noghri Khabarakh. As the Falcon orbits the Forest Moon, Leia blacks out. After she comes to, it takes little to surmise that Leia has felt an echo in the Force from the moment of the Emperor's death. On the hostile jungle world of New Corv, Lando and Han arrive to the armored city of Illic. Upon clearing customs, Han spies Bothan Fey'lya. If it's Fey'lya, and this is spelt similarly, Fey'lya or Fey'lya?
The audiobook says Fey'lya.
Fey'lya.
Not that that's correct, but that's just how I've heard it before.
Fey'lya. Yeah, we'll go with that. Han spies Bothan Fey'lya.
Why would their names be that similar?
I think they're related.
I guess.
Or from the same clan or something, because they're pretty close, right? Han spies Bothan Fey'lya, identifying him by his neckpiece as one of Fey'lya's aides. Han hurriedly sends Lando to meet Luke below while he tails Fey'lya to the warehouse district, only to be ambushed by a short, greying woman, just as sirens start to blare. At the Tapcaf Mishra, Lando meets Luke as he is called upon to dispense a Jedi's wisdom on a heated dispute between a Barabel and a Rodian. The Barabel was not told that they would be paid for a job in Imperial credits. As Luke enhances his senses to read the Rodian for any sign of deception, he catches a whiff of Carababa tobacco and
cabbage.
Amadou spice. Niles Ferrier is here.
Wow.
While initially obstinate, the crowd support for Luke as a Jedi compels Ferrier's aid to facilitate the unofficial exchange of Imperial and Republic monies. With the situation de-escalated, Luke reflects on his previously unconsidered responsibility as a Jedi. The crowd seems unperturbed by the blare of sirens, which one of the Crown informs them that signals an Imperial raid. Lando suggests that such raids are commonplace in the border worlds as a tacit oblation, suspecting that this routine raid will turn unpleasant after the Imperials find their ship on the landing record. They split up, with Luke off to find Han, while Lando heads to the hangar to meet up with R2 and attempt to erase the landing logs.
Got a merch idea, guys.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah?
The Imperial currency sounds like our logo.
Oh.
It was small and triangular with an intricate pattern of lines in the center and inscribed with a small 100 in each corner. Each of the corners of ours has a little spot for a 100.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
See, I thought you were gonna say our own lost holocron strand of some weed or something. Because whatever this guy's smoking.
No, that's later.
Carababa tobacco.
So I don't know what at one point in the chapter, it's mentioned that this place was modeled after a theater on another planet, and for some reason that locked into my brain that this place looked like the Chinese theater in Los Angeles.
That would be pretty cool.
What does the inside of that place look like? I know the outside is very oriental looking, but does the inside look any...
That's about the same.
Like a regular cinema?
Yeah.
Wait, so the whole place was supposed to be like this, or just the tap calf?
I don't know. Just the tap calf is what my brain was thinking.
I could see that. Like nice red trimming on all the tables and kind of like layered feeling to it.
Yeah.
That feels nice in my brain.
Sit down, enjoy some hot chocolate and some music. It's great.
Yeah, the Kentucky milk is back, baby.
Yeah. But it's a local variety. It has a little bit of mint.
A little bit of mint. Oh, I did have some hot chocolate with mint in it, and that is pretty good.
Yeah.
Wow.
I got it for Christmas last year from my sister.
Oh, neat.
I just saw Kyle chug what I think is orange juice, and now when I see the tap calf, I think of Tropicana. Tropicabana.
We're all developing a different association for this thing.
This is a Minute Maid household.
Oh, sorry.
You Californians and your Tropicana.
I like the Simply Orange brand.
Weirdly enough, though, Tropicana does sell the best apple juice.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to have to try that now.
Anyway, Star Wars, guys.
So, what did you guys think of Niles Ferrier just being a curmudgeon? So, I'm not going to help you.
Yeah.
Like immediately when he calls him out, Niles Ferrier, where are you? I had a flashback to to Kyle describing the firefight in chapter 2 of him just peeking his head out with his eyes squinted, saying, "The powers of Jedi are greatly overstated." I actually laughed out loud.
I had a very similar thing. It's that one GIF of Homer Simpson sinking back into the it's just him sinking back into the cloud more.
Yeah, this dude's just everywhere. There's trouble.
Yeah,
yeah, very convenient, eh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very conveniently. Do you think there's some sort of ships to be stolen here, or?
I mean, there's ships to be stolen everywhere.
Fair, that is.
Honestly, I'm wondering if he's working with the Imperials or something. I mean, he is. He's dipping in both, but I wonder if he's an actual agent of an organization, and he's specifically following Luke and the others.
As a spy or something, you think?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, didn't, at the end of chapter 2, they gave them a tip, right? Where did they send them? Can somebody bring that up on the book?
Ooh, yeah, let me look.
Well, he looks, I was going to say, story-wise, I think, yeah, it's more than likely he's an operative. But in general, I feel the world is a lot smaller of a place sometimes. And sometimes you just run into the same people a lot.
I mean, how many people can be smoking Khabarakh tobacco and doing Armadur spice at the same time?
Yeah.
And you know what? I love that they're using a scent to like mark this dude. It's very reminiscent of The Witcher 3, where Geralt's running around and is like, I'm looking for a woman. She smells like lilacs and gooseberries.
I think also in a novel, it's quite a novel way to describe the scenery in a way that would feel really out of place in a visual medium.
Yeah.
Describing scent. Have you seen that movie Perfume or something about that guy that just is like a super smeller in old like Victorian era Europe, and he becomes a perfumer, but he's also is he also a cannibal at the same time? I can't remember.
I think he was some kind of serial killer.
Yeah, he's some kind of serial killer. Yeah, in that kind of visual medium, and it's like, oh, this stuff smells so good, and like cooking videos and stuff like that, and like just how unrealistic a lot of food advertisement is. That the book seems like the best place to put those images in people's brains, like being immersed in that universe, because you're already not seeing pictures anyway. So, why not take advantage of those other senses?
Yeah, I really like that detail, specifically because of that. It feels very visceral to me when I read it. So I found the thing, and honestly, all he says is, maybe next time I can do you a favor, which he did.
He did.
Yeah, but they dragged him into it.
But before that, doesn't Lando give him a place, saying that some place is vulnerable or there's something available in this district?
Yeah, I thought that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Ooh, oh yeah, right. The Amoris. He said Amoris.
Amoris. Okay.
Yeah.
Amoris.
I wonder if that is in this Churba Sector.
To the Wikipedia.
Churba
Amoris
Sector.
System. Okay.
This
article has an illustration of Fey'lya.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it only has 2 planets. Okay, what's the Churba system? Is it nearby? We're gonna put this whole map together.
No. So I've got the one open for the Churba section here, and it says that it's got them in alphabetical order. There's a Basan system. All these are systems. Bomadon, Chubra, or Churba, Dirka system, Aryan system, Froffly. Ooh, the Froffly system's here.
Oh, hey!
That's where the Froffly comes from.
Lelma and Storthus systems.
Is this the Timothy Zahn system? This is his corner of the galaxy.
This is corner of the galaxy. And it's through the Corellian run and the Durospace run are the trade routes that run through this sector.
Okay, so it said New Cove was in the mid-rim. And the Morris system is in the outer rim. So what is Fey'lya doing?
Maybe he's done stealing, or this could just be a waypoint on his way there. He stopped off for a bit of, I don't know, Oriental style entertainment.
All right, let's find out where Sluis Fan is.
Look, we did this last time, and this map is highly inaccurate for this era.
I know,
of
but
publishing.
I want to know. I want to know. I want to figure out what the Fey'lya is doing here, because it does feel like kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It does seem awfully convenient that he's just there. He's looking for ships to steal, I guess.
Why in this spot? So we had Luke actually have to use morals or something in this chapter. Which, to me, that was a pretty engaging part of the chapter.
It was.
Yeah.
And it was I think it was pretty engaging because it was so out of his element. He was so confused. He felt like he was kind of making up a lot of it as he went, but he was also using a lot of like the surroundings to kind of like just gauge where he should be going.
Yeah.
Which was
it
kind of
felt
cool
pretty
to see him.
tense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think particularly with that, like in the beginning of the chapter, Lando wasn't there to translate, and he knew that he was stepping into a situation when he wasn't going to understand both sides.
Right.
So,
well, he didn't intentionally get in that. He kind of, he made the mistake of showing off his lightsaber, and they're like, "Wait, you're the Jedi."
Yeah.
Which also made me think that I think we had talked about a while back, how well known is Luke throughout the galaxy, and apparently he's relatively well known. If people are like, "Oh, you're the Jedi Luke Skywalker."
I think most people are identifying by his lightsaber because, like in the thing when the guy says, "Well, you are the Jedi," there's like a little dialogue tag that says it's indicating to his weapon, and so I think that maybe his face is maybe not so well known, but like a lightsaber, the weapon of a Jedi, is very well known.
His name is relatively well known as well because somebody might recognize a lightsaber, but they won't recognize it as his lightsaber per se. But they'll be like, "Oh, Jedi, okay, Luke Skywalker."
Yeah.
They might associate Jedi being with Luke Skywalker. Associate that as synonymous.
That's what I would say. That's like Occam's razor version of that.
Yeah. Anyway,
maybe people have. I like to think that the propaganda posters are like that really iconic one of Leia holding onto Luke's legs as he's like holding the lightsaber up, and then got Darth Vader in the background. That like that's what people know him for. Of like, oh, he's this wonderful hero that like his face isn't really distinct in that picture, but the fact that he's holding a lightsaber and is the hero is so the most distinctive thing.
If I'm ever on a wanted poster, I really hope they make it look like an 80s sci-fi movie.
He has like an 8-pack somehow.
Who was surprised that he was as buff as he was, or like as strong as he was Winter, right? When he was like searching through. That's right. He was searching through the records of who the Joruus C'baoth was, and Winter was like, "Oh yeah, I remember him being like, really muscular, and that was really surprising for a Jedi." And then she turns around and goes, "Oh, yeah, sorry about that."
He's like stuffing his face full of Cheetos.
It's like, all right, I can take a hint.
I have been neglecting my physical workout recently. But it's all these damn X-Wing flights. How am I supposed to get my time in?
Yeah.
He's giving Porkins a run for his money.
But I think also that scene benefited from we know that Luke doesn't want to fight, and he's already drawn his weapon, and the Barabel has already shot a droid at this point. So things are quite heated at this point. And even though the Barabel is quite deferential towards Luke, he is still very aggressive.
Yeah.
I like that tension between the Barabel swings around on Ferry. No, respect him. He is Jedi. Respect.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting that they were so. I mean, there was resistance to it, but people were ready for him to mediate. Like, yeah, he's here. He's going to be the third party to tell us what's right and wrong here.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they get any kind of like, magistrate training while they're going going through their Jedi training.
Jedi college.
You're right. You're supposed to be keepers of the peace, but not like, not in civil situations.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like they were ambassadors.
They should be.
They were just like quite ceremonial, but like warrior monk ambassadors, which is what we got in the prequel trilogy. But from the kind of news clippings or the Imperial archive that we got in that chapter that I mentioned just before, it did seem that they have some sort of ambassadorial training or political training.
So if I'm remembering correctly, in SOTOR, there's like 2 main light side Jedi classes you can play with 2 separate stories. One of them is like all the lightsaber action, you're the big hero, special, all of that. And the other one is literally just politics.
Really?
Yeah. It's the Guardian and the Consular stories.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think the difference between those two is so funny.
Do you think Luke would be the Guardian and Leia would be the Consular?
Yeah. I do think so, yeah.
I mean, that's where their abilities seem to lie.
Yeah, because in this chapter he even mentioned something about like Leia would be more suited for this kind of situation with her diplomatic training and such.
He does seem to have like that going against him being a kind of hick. That he was raised, doesn't really speak many languages, is very naive to the state of the world, which partially has been in his favor with like the oh well, you shot at me but nobody was actually hurt, so it doesn't seem like a crime was committed here, kind of.
I'm not touching him vibes.
Yeah.
Technically.
Him and Biggs Darklighter had some very strange games in Mos Eisley.
No. Send Luke to therapy.
Oh, that is not what I meant at all.
Oh, okay.
We just automatically went there.
Yeah.
Maybe I need the therapy.
I think we all do.
Maybe I need therapy.
I'm already in therapy.
Do you think the punishment of the Barabel spreading the gossip about, well, he's going to pay you in a currency you can't use and hurting his future business as fair punishment for what happened that time?
You don't think so? I think that was pretty good.
No,
it's like don't deal with Rhodians anymore because they're just going to pay you in useless.
You can't make judgments of people based on their identity, Scott. Just because he's a Rhodian doesn't mean. But no, it does seem like a lot.
I mean, you can get currency exchanged.
Yeah,
you can, but it sounds like it's pretty difficult in this situation. You know, and even he said there was like a 3 to 4 exchange rate or something like that, and
4 to 5.
4 to 5.
Yeah, 4 to 5, but they got 3 to 5 in this situation because that was possibly a lucky exchange.
Yeah.
Why would he even bring that up? Why wouldn't he just lowball him?
Just make up some numbers.
Well, at the time he was less cooperative and didn't think that he would be supplying the money at the time. And he's like, well, I know how to play both sides and this is what we did. But then when he's implicated into, okay, well, can you make the exchange? He's like, well, maybe.
Well, no. He's like, actually, it's like a 3 to 4, 3 to 5, whatever he said.
Yeah.
If I was the guy, I'd be like, no, I want the first number you said.
I'm not an ATM, guys.
Yeah. But it reminded me about this the psychological study. You've got 2 people in the study, and they're going to give one of them $100. Both participants know that you're giving $100 to one person, and the other person can split it any way that they like with the other person. If the other person accepts, then the money will be distributed. But if the other person refuses, then neither of them get money. And so this is one of those things that show that humans aren't perfect economical or idealized economic entities, because any person should accept any number that they give. They decide to give you $1 out of that 100. That's $1 that you didn't have before. But spite is so powerful that if it's anything below 25%, the other person will immediately reject that.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
Yep. Yeah. I get
Can't
it.
destroy with $1.
In this economy.
Even the dollar screen is $1.25 now.
I kind of get it as well, because it's kind of like, well, this person's being fucking greedy, so they shouldn't get anything, even if I am also taking the loss.
If I'm going to take the hit, everybody's going to take the hit.
Like there was a thing I read recently. It's like, would you you're gonna get $25,000, but the person you hate the most in the world is gonna get 50.
Oh God.
Yeah. They had those kinds of studies, and I think that you're right in that it's more valuable to that person to screw that other person over. Like screwing somebody else out of $99 is worth way more than that $1 that they would have gotten the other way.
I mean, yeah, in this economy.
That's very cheap fun right there.
Really, really random thought. Jedi Knight, they're more like paladins, right?
Paladins? Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compared to what?
Knights.
Well, yeah, probably, yeah. They are religious knights that act on divine insight.
Yeah. I mean, the way maybe I'm wrong, because maybe it's been a while since I brushed up on my medieval history, but paladins served a divine force, while knights served a lord, and Jedi don't necessarily have one leader that they listen to.
Yeah. That's what I'd find really interesting probably going forward, is that some of the stuff that I'm really frustrated with the recent media is that they're going back to the model of, well, there's one galactic superpower, and that's either the Empire or it's the New Republic, and because they did the sequel trilogy how they did it, it also has to go to this place of, well, there's another galactic civil war, and we have to care about why those choices are of consequence. And I feel like a more decentralized focus would make things feel more impactful, because you care about the particular sects. And they had to set up in the Ahsoka series that the Republic is starting out on shaky ground, and so it's not really something you can really get behind to begin with, because it's going to be destroyed in the end. But it doesn't really matter, because they didn't really set it out in the right way to begin with, and so there's a bit of loss of dramatic tension there. But I feel like with the rise of some sort of a lot of independent states, that's really where you could lean into a new age of Jedi, that they're not centralized under a grand order, but everybody is their own paladin, as you say, and they're answering to the Force, and you have systems that will look up to certain sects of Jedi to offer their divine wisdom or whatever.
Oh, that's cool.
I feel like that would be an interesting state of the universe to either move into and not really worry about setting it up from where in the timeline they are at the moment, and just jump into it like they did with the High Republic.
Just be like, hey, maybe the Separatists were right.
Yeah. I am a Separatist sympathizer.
I kind of am too, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that was a very, once you actually look into it, it's a very interesting political conflict.
Yeah. And it's something that we experience in modern democracy as well, is the unfair or unequal representation within, people aren't being represented in the Senate or the whatever political spheres hold the most power. And politics is a optimization problem that is a hard one to solve.
Yeah.
And something that also stood out to me from this kind of exchange is that it was a 4 to 5 exchange or a 3 to 5 exchange. There was no concept of decimalizing that exchange at all.
Yeah.
That it had to be in those even quantities. But then it also reminded me of earlier in the chapter that they get a data card when they arrive, and they're like, here, put this in your reader or whatever. And Han has to give this to Lando and runs off now without a map. And it's like, they don't have their own individual cell phones. They're not connected to some Wi-Fi network. They can't just make copies of these things really easily.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's a really interesting way to have dramatic tension, but it also becomes more contrived away from real technology. I'm very glad they don't have Wi-Fi in Star Wars, but
yeah.
I really like how it seems like their technology is actually relatively primitive. Like, you know, they still have like communicators and such. You know, it's like it feels cool for the era. You know, it just, you know,
what technology they do have is just the coolest possible version of it.
Yeah,
yeah.
It feels like it's more of like an analog society than a digital.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Like, instead of their society having people branching out and inventing all these different ideas and inventions, someone's like, hey, that's a really cool one. I'm going to keep doing it better. I just keep doing that over and over again until you end up with a fucking lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of lightsaber, I thought it was a little interesting how, like, the Noghri and the, what was the other alien? Not the Noghri, the Rodian. The Barabel. They're, like, pointing their blasters at each other, and Luke just, like, sticks his lightsaber between them. He's like, okay, nobody's going to shoot anybody.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
That was a good move.
Yeah, because he's like, put away your blasters, and the Barabel's like, no, the Rodian's going to shoot me when I put away my blaster.
Yeah, that communicated a lot
of power. He's like, yeah, I'll try it.
And trust, too.
Yeah.
In Luke's authority, or...
Mm-hmm. Kind of like his gavel. His lightsaber's kind of like his gavel in this situation.
Imagine a judge with a lightsaber.
He'd be like Kylo Ren.
Order in the court.
Order. Ooh, pretty light.
You got a little energy shield dome that you're whacking it down on to get those sparks and hisses. I hope the even as we advance in our own technology in this universe, that they don't change the technology in that universe. It might need some explaining to people that just don't understand that, like, well, why aren't they just Wi-Fiing each other? Because one thing that that gets me still is the they have the communicator, and he's like, well, don't contact me because I might not be somebody that I want a chime coming in. And like, there's no mute button.
Right.
Although, yeah. How do you know who you want to call as well? Like, do the communicators just read your thoughts to... Like, I know it's a bit of movie magic and everything, but...
I know. It's like...
I think...
Where they have everybody's name just on the dial and just, like, click it over to, like...
Maybe it's like a radio.
Dials or something.
Yeah.
Like
it'll be on the right channel. Or...
I kind of get what you're saying with not wanting it to change so much based on our technology, but I feel like there would be a real, I want to say disconnect. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it would feel weird if I felt the technology in the sci-fi fantasy show that I was watching was somehow stupider than our current day technology.
But I think that's the aesthetic thing that, like, Tim was talking about. Like, it's old technology, but it's old technology that's taken to the nth degree. And I think one of the things that does stand out about some of the newer media is the like, when you got background characters that are walking around with, like, iPads or, bits of glass and whatever, like that doesn't feel Star Wars, really. Would prefer a little bit something more tablety, something that's not like I said, no Wi-Fi, no wireless communication besides, like, this radio phone almost. Yeah, more of like, you got to plug stuff in because, we need our astromechs and our little BD1s to find ports to jack into.
What if R2 had Bluetooth?
It'd be a lot more convenient.
I like the fact that they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if someone tries to link to R2, like one of the enemies?
Oh, that would be funny.
Yeah.
He's like, R2, what's your Wi-Fi password?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3. the same combination on my luggage. No, but I think it's interesting that they don't have technology like Wi-Fi, but yet they can talk to each other in like, parsecs away, halfway across halfway across the galaxy or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like instant. It's like instant communication almost, or at least it feels like it is.
I think that's what makes it a space fantasy. Yeah. And I don't want that to change. I don't want it to be like the speed of light is not infinite and radio communication is, belayed by just distance. I feel like those things are really fundamental to what we agree to when we step into the Star Wars universe. And I don't feel like that should change.
Yeah. I like that in the Hyperion Canto stories, they actually do kind of have an explanation for instant communication across, the solar system, whatever. And, because they call it like their fat line or forecaster technology, where it's basically just teleportation. It's like even their communications are like instantly teleported, and it's really cool.
Yeah, but I think in Star Wars, I don't want an explanation like that. I don't want, like, they've got technology that just does that, and the speed of light is infinite. And because I was reading one of the modern Thrawn books, and there's a point where the Thrawn is doing those like micro jumps that we've run into in the last one, is hit and fade operations of like doing those micro jumps.
Light speed skipping or something like that?
Is it light skip? No. He's in the same system, but he jumps for like a split second and moves like 6 AU or whatever.
Okay, cool.
So he's advancing on an enemy.
So very brief jump.
Yeah. Very brief jump and moving forward. And if it was in the case of like our universe, there are 7 minutes between us and the sun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if they made a jump from the sun to the Earth, that should take 7 minutes for us to see them leaving the sun, and they could arrive here before their light gets here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want that kind of situation happening in Star Wars. They should leave. We should see them leave and see them arrive as independent points in time, not kind of overlapping light cons.
Agree.
Yeah, that's why I think hyperspace is actually much faster than light speed. Even though they say the jump to light speed, I think hyperspace has to be much faster.
Yeah, I agree, but in the way that observation works in that universe, and that the speed of light is just a concept rather than an actual limitation on storytelling or whatever. And that's what makes the fantasy element of like, well, light speed is we can't get faster than this, but we do actually have instantaneous communication, and I can see something happening the instant that it happens rather than waiting for the light to arrive, which they could jump ahead of using like a warp jump or micro jumping or whatever technobabble you want to put in here.
I like that Star Wars space isn't much like actual space.
Yeah, I know.
I like
and another big thing is like, X-wings and TIE fighters they wouldn't fly like that if they really existed in space.
Yeah,
they would like hit like a jet and then float a little bit and then hit another jet to like redirect them, and then they'd all be like,
you wouldn't have some like bombing ships where you like open the bay doors in the bottom and drop the bombs.
Right.
Yeah,
that does work out though, because that does make sense.
Yeah,
because there's gravity in the ship, the forward momentum would not stop because it went to space.
Right. Yeah. No. I love it, but it's just fun to think about space.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing to also say is like they have explicitly said that there is some sort of ether in Star Wars as well. Like there's no ether in our universe, but they have an ether. There's a talk about an ethereal rudder in the X-wing making some noises, and like they're actually pushing off something, so there's something there that is equivalent to like a liquid or some other medium in space that allows for the kinds of dogfights and whatever that happens.
Does Star Wars space feel wet?
I was reading a fun article recently that astronauts claim that space smells like a seared steak.
Do they have an explanation for that?
Not that I was aware of.
It's actually the instrumentation fucking up.
But it's just when they claim that when they would come back in, their suits would smell like seared steak.
And like
from the sun.
I imagine
like they're being radiated and cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that cooked spacesuit or space?
Glowing. I really wanted the sci-fi fantasy element of this, that we're used to in the Star Wars universe. I really wanted to be something that was like unique to this particular galaxy.
Yeah.
And I was a little disappointed when in Ahsoka they went to like the next galaxy. It was like exactly the same. And, I wanted everything to be unique to this galaxy, and then that galaxy be like all like their laws of physics to be like completely different. I thought that would have been so cool, but no, of course they couldn't do that because then it would just confuse everybody.
I'm not sure how I would feel about that.
Yeah, and I wanted the Force to be something unique to the galaxy we're familiar with, and I wanted like, in the new galaxy, I wanted the Force to just like, not work. I thought that would have been an amazing concept they could have touched on, but again, I think it would just confuse everybody.
Yeah, that would confuse me, honestly.
They're trying to reach out to a bigger audience, and I think if they had done something like that, it would have been. I don't think a lot of people would have liked it.
I don't know. I mean, that feels like a bit too fantastical for me.
I don't know, but I like that though.
Yeah, but I just don't see why going to another galaxy would change like the laws of physics, or that like the Force would not be there.
I don't know. It just feels like the Force is unique to that galaxy, though. For me, anyway. From what we know of the Force and like all the origins, for all we know, or as far as we know, the Force originated in this galaxy. I don't know. It just feels like, or maybe within like a certain.
I see what you're getting at, but I also think that that wasn't the story they were trying to tell either. That if the Night Sisters originated from that galaxy, their magic was in touch with some version of the Force over there.
Yeah, that's true.
I could see like their magic being stronger in that galaxy, and the way that the Jedi tap into the Force is weaker in that galaxy.
I was kind of hoping for something like that as well.
That like there's some optimization through their cultures into tapping into the Force in its various states or flavors or whatever in different galactic neighborhoods. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. Or maybe it could be just like within a group of galaxies or something. Because
I think it's horrifying, the idea of omnipresent Force that having dominion over a specific galaxy and going out to other ones. So like, I'm sorry, what are you talking about? Magic?
Right. Yeah, I was going to touch a little bit on that with the Night Sister magic, because they actually referred to it as like the Ecker or something along the lines of that. Like
Ecker. The Ecker.
Yeah, Ecker.
The blood of the gods.
Tasty.
But
delicious.
I mean, I think it would be really cool if it was like an independent type magic, but it does feel like it's related to the Force.
I like the idea of it being like maybe more concentrated in some areas, though. And I think it would be interesting if like the Night Sister magic had a wider dynamic range of that concentration. Like the Force is relatively balanced throughout the galaxy, but with Night Sister magic, it's kind of like weaker for the most part, but then maybe you get into certain areas and it's like wicked, like stupid strong.
Like Peridian, for instance.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that the Force was stronger in floral heavy areas.
With life, you mean? Like teaming with life?
Like plants and stuff like that. And then the
like
opposing was the dark side thrived more with synthetic materials around them.
I don't remember that being part of anything that I've read.
I'm not sure about that.
Maybe it's just maybe it's
life.
my own headcanon, but I feel like a lot of them more like.
I mean, the Force flows through everything, even the synthetic materials.
I guess so.
Even rock.
The Force is in the plastic.
Maybe it doesn't like them as much, but it can't say so.
I mean, that's a good point, because it seems like some Force users can manipulate like electronics and things.
Yeah.
With not just with, using the Force to manipulate the mechanisms and things, but also influence the functionality of.
So can we mind trick droids?
Maybe in some way.
You must be able to.
Yeah. You have to be able to.
If you're like a droid guy, like Anakin was, I could imagine, because they describe it being in the Tales of the Jedi that droids are easier to sense their intentions than the clones, and that's why Anakin had Ahsoka training in that circle like that. And so there must be a way to mind trick droids as well.
But are droids more predictable because of like algorithms versus human, or not human, but like free will and like living creatures?
Oh, because of programming.
Yeah.
That would make sense, because there's like less possible futures for the Force precognition to have to focus on.
Yeah.
Or to have to weed through to find out what the future's going to be.
Yeah. Actually, so in this chapter as well, it seems like you don't need anything to particularly hold the Force, because Leia goes through an empty patch of space and she's overtaken by the whatever was left over from the death of the Emperor. And it makes me wonder, because we had the Force Echo, a dark side Force Echo in the Forest Cave in the first book. We got another echo in this one of the Emperor. And I know that other one was supposed to be the death of some sort of dark Jedi that Yoda had killed, right? So I wonder if we're going to see more of those throughout this trilogy, or whether this is going to be the last mention of or appearance of this kind
Maybe
of
those will be dark
wound,
Force,
or what do you guys think it is?
a wound?
I think it's a ghost, and it's like a feeling. It's like a force left behind. The force. You know?
The Force? No,
Yeah, because just inhabiting empty space. Well, like the other one seemed to inhabit the tree or the marshland or whatever was right there, but this one is either because Palpatine is so powerful, or
Well, I think it makes sense for the dark side, because the Darksiders tend to get very fixated on specific things, particularly based around what they fear. So it makes sense for me that, like, you become a Force ghost, you can go pretty much anywhere. Yay, light side, woohoo. Dark side, you die, and like your presence just like sticks in that spot. That feels a lot more dark side than light side to me.
no.
So it tracks in my mind.
Like feelings have a physical presence. Like emotions have a physical presence. I'm sure we've all felt somebody staring daggers at us.
Yeah.
And while they're not physically doing anything, you can feel their eyes burning into your back.
Yeah.
Actually, so that also aligns, Tim, with the philosophy of the dark side and the light side as well, because the light side is supposed to flow through you, or the Force, as the Jedi see it, is supposed to flow through you.
Yeah.
That isn't particularly a concentration thing of like building energy in the same way that the dark side seems to be of some sort of dynamo, that they're building energy within themselves to control, but the light side is simply trying to find the natural flow of things and create the right echoes in order to have their will be done, or however that happens.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that when they die, that dynamo is still running, or that concentration is still balled up wherever that dark side user died, but the light side users are just kind of like moves on like a breeze.
Ooh,
like Obi-Wan Kenobi in A New Hope.
Yeah.
I found it really interesting as well, the word choice from Timothy Zahn, and I wonder what it says on his views of the Force, that what Leia felt was menace, rage, hatred, despair, bitterness, which all seem pretty self-explanatory for the dark side. However, sadness, which wasn't quite sadness, but something melancholic, and that doesn't really track with my idea of Palpatine, of like, oh, I left so much undone in my death, or like, I'm never going to get to, finish the construction of my second Death Star.
And for all we know, that could have been it.
I mean, he did have what was the fucking order he had that like after he died, everything that he was working on was supposed to get snuffed out because he wasn't there to oversee it.
Operation Cinder in Battlefront 2.
But Palpatine's characterization also became clearer with the prequel trilogy, I think.
You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, because what we got in Return of the Jedi is just a super evil dude. Has fun with it, clearly enjoys it, but what we got is essentially just like it could just be the surface. And so Timothy Zahn could be like, oh, maybe the Emperor has some depth to him, and I'm gonna like hint at that, because Return of the Jedi is all he has to go off of.
Yeah.
Man in cloak, easily throwable.
Yeah.
It's a Super Mario 64 death. Pick him up by his tail, swing him into these conveniently placed bombs around the battle stage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, granted that we don't have that at this time with Revenge of the Sith. Anakin's going off to go slay younglings or do things that will... Oh, no, he sends him off to Mustafar, right? And Anakin's out of the room by the time that he's sitting in his chair and he goes, yes, and finally we will have peace. Do you think that is what he thinks he is bringing to the galaxy, is peace and order, and maybe there's a sadness for or like some melancholy that the peace that he tried to bring to the galaxy wasn't fulfilled in that way? Because I've got to think that this also has to align with Thrawn's current motivations as well as the Emperor's emissary, basically, at this point. Why is Thrawn fighting so hard to bring back the Empire? Previous discussed headcanon.
I don't have the same read on Palpatine's character, but I can see it. Yeah.
So I think we are supposed to layer what we know about Thrawn at this point onto Palpatine right now.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to read Thrawn.
Yeah, but I think this is because I don't think we're specifically supposed to get much information out of Palpatine. Like you said, he wasn't he was just evil man, easily throwable.
We saw him through Luke's perspective mainly in the movie, and sometimes Vader.
Oh wait, you know what? Since the beginning of this book, actually, we have got a lot more characterization around Palpatine, because when Han arrives in
Imperial
Coruscant,
Palace,
the Imperial Palace, the descriptions that we have of him. So I think there is a bit more to this image of Palpatine that we're getting at the moment. I feel like we should keep our eyes out for more threads.
We really are in an alternate universe.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the way we should be reading this as well. That we've got a lot of inferences from what comes after and what comes around, but how well does this book stand on its own, and what is the story that this book is trying to tell, regardless of other influences?
Yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but Leia reacted to this Force echo in my mind the way Luke would react to it, and not Leia. Because Leia is a very emotional person, but I think she's much better than Luke at compartmentalizing them. And something that's kind of like felt a bit off about her characterization in these books to me is that she is much more comforting and kind of motherly, which I know she literally is pregnant, but the way Leia consoles people to me seems to be more like just being like a steady presence and not so much like the a big softie or whatever. There's a better way to put it.
But she was raised as a political diplomat too, though. She's supposed to give like the cold shoulder political answer, not mother answer or whatever.
Like, she knows how to listen and validate, but not necessarily coddle.
I don't think it's off. overreaction. I mean, and also, Leia's pregnant. She's dealing with high stakes political right now,
That's
and
fair.
then she got a psychic roundhouse kick as she flew through space.
Just
That's
mind your
fair.
own business.
Yeah.
A lot is going on, and honestly, I don't think she should be going into this in the first place. It seems like a lot of stress just for any general person, especially somebody having twins currently.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And she does. I did read this as a kind of like stiff upper lip. Come on, we got a job to do here. Don't coddle me. And I feel like women can be put in that situation as well. It's like they are very loving and motherly to other people, but often are the neglected person in the household when it comes down to that at the end of the day. And that's probably a combination of whatever situation is around them, but also they don't know how to accept help is what I could see for Leia in this instance.
Yeah.
What about Chewbacca though? I feel like Chewie is a little wouldn't be so Nah,
Chewie. If Chewie sees you're sad, he's gonna run up and hug you. It could be that I'm just like really not used to hearing Leia's internal monologue.
Maybe. I feel like there's a big difference in their relationship as well between when they first meet each other on the Death Star in A New Hope, and that entire trilogy as well. They didn't really get close, but it seems that there's a big difference in the way that Chewie sees Leia and is a lot more protective, and we've had that mention of the life debt being extended over her now.
Yeah,
there's a big change in that relationship dynamic. I feel like
Chewie's the kind of person who grows more fond of you the more time you spend with them. Then eventually one day you're like, oh, you give a shit about me? Wow, nice. Unexpected. I love it.
I mean, I have no proof of this, but I do like the thought that since Chewie owes Han a life debt, and Han and Leia are together, they are one. So he owes both of them.
Yeah, I mean, like that is the explanation we've been given so far.
I don't know why in this chapter kind of hit me harder than more chapters than the other chapters. I'm not a fan that we hear Leia's and everyone else's inner monologue, but through Chewbacca we still just get weird little Wookiee noises, and it's like it is a book. We can it could just say what Chewbacca says.
Right, exactly.
We need a chapter that's from Chewbacca's perspective.
Yeah, because Chewie POV.
Like the reason that we're not getting those things is because Leia still isn't keeping up with her Shuriwook lessons.
Or if his inner monologue was like a dog. Oh, yeah, my favorite human! Yay!
Right, but remember, Han is his dog.
It would take a lot of interpreting through that chapter.
Yeah. A really weird, quick sidestep. There was this big, and I mean huge, in the conspiracy theory subreddits post where it was going to be announced on December 23rd that aliens are on our planets. It's been dogs the whole time. And they're just very happy to be here and excited to be with us. They are smarter than they think. And this was a huge thing for like a week leading up to December 23rd. And everyone's like, can't wait for dogs to reveal themselves to us.
That's great.
Anyone else have any thoughts on this chapter?
I'm really excited to see this meeting with Khabarakh.
Yeah.
Because it feels like we've been building up to this for a bit.
I don't think it's going to be in the next chapter.
It's better. Knowing Timothy Zahn, it's probably,
I think we got 2, maybe even 3 more chapters.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a bit of rising action here that we need to deal with. I wouldn't want this showdown with the Imperials to just be jumped away from.
For a political meeting? Mm-hmm. That doesn't sound like Star Wars at all.
It doesn't sound like Timothy Zahn, and that I'm happy about.
Yeah.
Timothy Zahn wants to deal with what's going on.
I do love that Han left the communicator on. He tried that trick.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like, oh, that's the oldest trick in the book.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's like, well, I didn't have time for anything else. And I was like, what else could you do in that situation?
Yeah.
I like as well that they changed it to a list as well. It's the oldest trick on the list.
Oh, yeah.
Because books aren't a thing in this universe. Like, physical books aren't a thing.
Oh, true. Good attention to detail.
I like to think it's because this is a long, long time ago. So it's just a list at this point. It's not long enough to be a book yet.
What if they just have scrolls instead of books?
The oldest trick on the Holocron.
Yeah. They have like magic digital cubes, but they don't have books.
Yeah. No.
They have to have paper. There's paper in Star Wars, right? I feel like I've seen people have paper.
Yeah, they have paper.
Jedi texts.
Jedi texts.
So there's books.
Yeah.
Right, but books are seen as a luxury in the manufacturing of making any particular dead tree into a dedicated to a single text rather than the digital replication of the data storage, which we did complain about an hour ago.
Right. Going back to the old debate, the recent debate about technology in this universe, what if they don't even have a printing press?
The cotton gin was never invented.
What if they never even invented the wheel? And that's why it all floats around.
Yeah, the culture list, but not wheel.
That's the significant milestone in Star Wars. The wheel was never invented, so they had to figure something else out.
They discovered anti-gravity technology before the wheel.
There has to be some way to get this to move easier. Let's just make it float.
What do they called? Repulsor lifts. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Those bug droids. I can't remember what the droids are, but the ones that roll around, that's the newest technology. That's the closest thing they've come to the wheel. Someone's seen those and they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Not because of like the blasters and the energy shields, but because they actually roll.
What if we put this on a vehicle? That's the next phrase that I want to see altered is that you don't need to reinvent the hover sled or something.
We need to make a t-shirt of that.
All right, I'll get on that.
Put it on our list.
Yeah. The Lost Holocron, reinventing the repulsor lift.
All right, we should get out of here.
Looking forward to the next.
Yeah.
This has been The Lost Holocron. You can find transcripts, links to discussions, and more at our website, lostholocron.com. While you are there, you can learn how you can support the creation of future episodes. Read on, and we will be waiting for you in the next transmission. We would be honored if you would join us.